Hello, and welcome to our third in a series of webinars focused on innovative solutions for youth employment in Africa, sponsored by Ashoka and the MasterCard Foundation. I'm Tracy Raina, and I'll be facilitating today's conversation with Ashoka Fellows in Africa, whose innovative solutions are solving the youth employment problems in their communities. Our panelists will be conversing about how their work helps to create new roles, redefines existing roles, and increases respect and credibility for the youth in formal, informal, and entrepreneurial sectors. With us today in the conversation are Njideka Harry, Jacinta Odina, and Fred Alucheli. Njideka is the founder and CEO of Youth for Technology Foundation in Nigeria. She's been recognized as an Ashoka Fellow for the work she's doing to improve employment for youth and women in the technology sector. Fred is the founder and executive director for Action Network for the Disabled, also known as AMB, and he's joining us from Kenya. Fred's also been recognized as an Ashoka Fellow for the work he's doing to create and improve employment in the disabled community. Jacinta's joining Fred as well, and she's a successful youth participant in the ANDI program. Before I hand it over to our esteemed panelists, I want to share with all of you how you can participate in our ongoing conversation on the topic of youth employment in Africa. First, if you're on Twitter, you can join us in a live Twitter chat that's happening right now by using the hashtag AfricaYouthFWD. Again, that's AfricaYouthFWD. Second, you can go to changemakers.com/futureforward to see and stay up to date with the topic as well as contribute to the conversation. You can also sign up there where it says stay informed, and we'll send you information on future webinars. The two things I just mentioned, the hashtag as well as the website, are posted on your live stream screen. Lastly, a recording of today's conversation will be available on the Ashoka YouTube site later today. With all of these opportunities to participate, we look forward to convening with you on this ongoing conversation. So this concludes my part of the webinar. I want to turn it over to Njideka and let her tell you more about the work she's doing with Youth and Technology Foundation. Njideka. Njideka, can you check your mute? Okay, try now. Okay, while we work on getting Njideka connected, I'm going to pass it over to Fred. Fred, tell us a little bit about ANDI and the work that you do.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is said Frederick Oko, and I'm an executive director and founder of Action Network for the Disabled. We are an organization that was founded 8 years ago in Kenya to address the issues of unemployment among persons with disability. Over 5 million Kenyans have a disability. 62% of this population is actually young people with disability. And with a high employment rate of 40%, there is a problem in Kenya. And when you walk on the streets of Kenya, you will find majority of persons with disabilities begging on the streets. Rarely will you find those who are in education institutions, because the education system is structured in a way that it doesn't accommodate people who have learning disabilities or difficulties. We have an education system that expects a blind student to write a geographic exam that needs them to read a map and answer a question for an exam. At the end, you will find out that people with disability have unfair opportunity. They do not access employment as those without disabilities. So that this problem needs to be tackled, we need to move people from the streets. And as Action Network for the Disabled, we have found a way of bringing back the dignity of persons with disability by providing a training opportunity in entrepreneurship, talking to employers to allow persons with disability to intern at their offices, thus getting work experience, but also through the training, supporting persons with disability who have brilliant business ideas but did not have the resources to begin, because everybody is saying that persons with disability are a high-risk investment group to put your money in. Microfinances do not want to trust persons with disability. They think that persons with disability are just there to be seen, or they are supposed to be assisted by society. Yes, they want an opportunity to work and fend for themselves. There is a lot of dignity that is gained if someone is able to earn a decent income by themselves. So to ensure that everyone understands this, Action Network for the Disabled did start a program called Access to Work, where after the training, one is taken through how to write a business plan. They're given mentoring. They're supported to start with a startup capital, which is a small seeding money for them to begin their enterprise, getting required support from the organization, and eventually being able to earn an income from this particular enterprise that is established. And we have found out that actually it's only an opportunity they have been lacking. Also, with our conversation with employers, we found out that while they were hesitant to employing persons with disability, they hadn't had an opportunity or somebody talk to them to enable them understand why all of us should be able to embrace diversity at the workspace. Why should we give a person with disability an opportunity just as anybody else? So through constant conversations, talking and training, we've now seen more and more persons with disability being accepted at the workspace because it allows them an opportunity to exercise the skills and the knowledge that they've gotten from the schools, and also mingling around with other colleagues while facilitating learning, both from the company perspective, but also the individual who are working at the workplace. So really, this is the main idea behind starting Action Network for the Disabled, to see how do we begin the conversation that people don't want to talk about. How do we demonstrate to the world and the companies in Kenya and all citizens that a person with disability, what they need is just an opportunity, and we will not see them on the street. They will be, they all want to work for an income. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Jacinta, one of the things that we wanted to talk about as a group here online was the 21st century skills, or those skills that are considered life skills, and how important they are in learning from a youth empowerment perspective, but also from an employer perspective, so that soft skills such as empathy will be seen in the workplace. Tell us, maybe you can tell us a story about some of the work that you're doing. Tell us a little bit about where you are and what you're doing, and then talk to us about how the soft skills you've learned help you be successful, as well as how employers using those same soft skills help you to be successful as an employee.
Thank you for the opportunity. First, I'm one of the participants for internship under the Action Network for the Disabled. And I want to say that it has really helped me a lot. So far, so good for the past 4 years that I've been working. And also, it has helped the employers to look at things in a positive way, though it has been difficult for them. It has been difficult for them to understand, because it was like a campaign on the reason why the employers are not in a position to employ persons with disability in their organization. So at first, it was my first experience, and I can say it was also the first experience from my employer. One thing we are supposed to understand, it is you need to work very hard so that you can prove to them that you are able to do the particular job that has been given. And sometimes you are forced not to take your lunch or to go out with the rest so that you can be able to do your work well and also deliver your input on time. At the same time, also be in a position to interact and socialize very well with everyone in the organization. The thing is that at the beginning, normally, before you tell somebody this is the kind of disability that they have, they look at it as you are trying to be, you want to be sympathized, or which is not correct. So the first thing for us to do, you do your work in a correct way, and then also what they look at, if you have the disability, they concentrate more on the punctuality. At what time do you normally come to the office, and at what time are you going to leave the office, and at what time are you going to deliver your work at the end of the day. So that is what they look for. And then in between, when you are still growing and working with the organization, that's when you tell them, this is the type of disability that I have, and this is how I'm supposed to be treated. That's when they start to know, this thing is they're supposed to be treated like this, and they're supposed to behave like this. But one thing you have to learn to fit in the organization, and also have the knowledge of team building, and also be able to work as a teamwork so that you can be able to fit well in the organization. And also you don't need to feel sorry for yourself. You have to understand this is my work. When it is work time, you will make sure you do your work accordingly, and then also when there's other things you're supposed to do. So that's what I came to learn. And also through us, persons with disability, it helps the organization to learn more. These people can be able to socialize, they can be able also to do other things. And then in that way, they're able even to add you some other responsibility, of which even an able person is not able to do.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I think I have great news. Njideka, I think we have you on the line. Njideka?
Yes.
You're on.
Okay, fantastic. Hello, everyone, and apologies for the slight technical glitch there over the last couple of minutes. But it did give me an opportunity to listen to the wonderful introduction from Tracy, and of course learn about Frederick's work and hear from Jacinta about their work in Kenya. So wonderful opportunity to do that. I'm with an organization called Youth for Technology Foundation. And Youth for Technology Foundation is an international nonprofit organization. We currently work in 5 countries, 4 of which are in Africa, and recently expanded our work to Latin America. But our longest track record is in Nigeria, where we have worked for 13 years. Our mission at Youth for Technology Foundation is to create and enrich learning communities where the appropriate use of technology affords opportunities for marginalized people living in developing nations. We have 2 types of clients, young people and women. We fundamentally believe that young people, not only do they have the longest productivity cycle, but they are co-creators of very powerful information and communication technology skills. We believe in women as the glue of the communities. They invest 90% back into their communities, and they are really the economic bench of the communities that we work in. So together we develop concrete information and communication technology programs that help them transition from education to employment or entrepreneurship. Like I mentioned, we began our work in Nigeria several years ago. But when you look at the continent in itself, Africa is really the world's youngest continent. 200 million young people live, work, or go to school in Africa and are between the ages of 15 to 24. This just gives just an amazing amount of potential for the continent. We've seen more and more technology companies, for instance, whether it's BlackBerry, Microsoft, Google, come into the continent and provide training for young people to equip them with appropriate technology skills. And indeed this has been very advantageous for the continent because we've been able to build up armies of very talented young people. But the buck doesn't stop there. It is about how we transition these young people to the world of work. Or even more importantly, how do we transition them to the world of entrepreneurship? 95% of the young people that walk through the doors at Youth for Technology Foundation have never thought about entrepreneurship as a viable career. And when they come in, what we do in addition to providing them with those technology skills and life skills is also almost a cultural mind shift, a paradigm shift, where they are able to begin to see entrepreneurship as a viable career, where they're able to innovate and be creative about ideas that they have, not just so that the ideas can be socially beneficial to their communities, but also so that they can monetize those ideas and create more sustainable communities.
Fantastic. I think one of the key pieces that both of you have talked about is that entrepreneurship, and that is becoming a very viable opportunity for young people. So in fact, by teaching them entrepreneurial skills, you are allowing them to be the creators, the co-creators, I think, as you said, of the future and the future of employment for a very young generation for many years to come. And you mentioned that many times they don't see that as a viable career. So why do you think personally that it is a viable career, and how do you mentor the young people as well as the women that you work with to help them overcome seeing that as a viable career?
So that's a great question, Tracy. And really the need to understand the determinants of entrepreneurship is as important really as understanding the concept. And when you think about entrepreneurship, a society and creating a society that makes entrepreneurship easy to grow and it makes it easier to start and sustain a business really requires an intersection of various enabling factors, which include, of course, the public sector, the private sector, and civil society. So it's really a little bit more than, whether it's a good idea or a good business plan, but do you have the interlocking institutions that make it an enabling environment for young people to thrive in entrepreneurship? So I think that is really, really key. When you look at countries in Africa, when you look at Nigeria, for instance, the concept of digital jobs, which is short-term or long-term positions that use information and communication technologies to deliver products in the formal sector, is huge. And, recently, Rockefeller Foundation did some research across 6 countries in Africa and identified over 2 million high-potential youth are entering the job market every year. And there are 41,000 digital jobs being created. So while that is a small sector, it has the potential to grow and really create an enabling environment for young people, not just to create and innovate these ideas, but to be able to monetize and commercialize these ideas as well.
Wonderful. So Fred, you're an entrepreneur yourself, and you've overcome disabilities yourself. Tell us how you mentor and create a learning environment for young people to have those same opportunities.
Thank you. In Kenya, everybody understands the biggest problem is unemployment amongst young people. And while a lot of young people are coming from education institutions, they're having jobs. So if you have a country of 40 million plus people which has an unemployment problem, it means people have to be social entrepreneurs. They have to find solutions to this biggest challenge of our time, which is unemployment among young people. So we need to encourage, and that has been our pillar, how do we encourage these young people who have a disability and everybody is looking, is not valuing them within the society, they are facing discrimination. But how do we build their confidence that there is this little thing that they can do that can earn them an income? And it is within their locality that they can have this particular income and they will have contributed to solving a particular problem within their community. So making that environment available to somebody who has been discriminated, somebody who doesn't see themselves as want of contributing to the national development, it and brings them up, and they are able then to start using their talent in creating employment. For example, if you live in a rural community and perhaps there's issues around food security or people not having enough for a day, and you are a person with disability who your family owns land, what prevents you from talking to your parents on with a view of them giving you a piece of land for you to grow your own food crops? And what stops you from asking them to support you till the land? Because perhaps you might not be able to till, but you have an experience on what needs to go in this particular farm for it to be able to give enough produce for the markets, and both for us to use at home and then also sell to get an income. So really it's just looking what are the local problems and helping these young people identify ways through which they can contribute, however small, to solving those problems while earning an income. And that's the spirit that then enables everyone to have a job. Because if they're going to sit down and wait for the big job in the office, that's not going to happen. That's going to waste their years without them contributing to the national development. But if they feel the contribution, however small it is, it actually contributes to the overall growth of the country. Secondly, sometimes there's this notion that people say, if you have a disability, then you should wait for things to be done for you. And as an entrepreneur, I know that's not the right notion for people to have. So if you bring, when we bring these young people, say, in a room and talk to them and say, what is your talent, for example? Do you think people understand that you can earn through your talent? And they say no. Can you list down the exact thing that you can do that you think you can charge people and they will pay, and eventually you'll have money that you didn't have yesterday? So understanding what people have at a particular time and how they can use it to leverage and get an income, that's what is going to solve the issue of unemployment. And I think when people begin, and in our experience, when people begin to see that this person who has a difficulty in talking, this person who is blind has been able to make this particular product, then people change their mindset. They actually buy those products. They're buying it not that they're feeling pity, but they see you've had an effort, and they will go marketing that particular product, because for you to sit down and say you can do this, then it means people then need to support you for you to have your own income. And actually then that promotes independence of individuals. And there's nothing beautiful for a person with disability than being independent, knowing that you can have your own money, you can spend it on whatever you want, and you can also support your family. So when we create that environment, we allow them to really nurture their talents and grow towards getting a decent income.
So I think you left a fantastic opening for Jacinta. And Jacinta, I'm going to ask you two questions, because one of them has come from our Twitter feed, and I think you would also be a great answer of that question. The first is, how does it make you feel to be able to have the income and produce the income that Fred's talking about? And then secondly, how have you prepared yourself to be able to do this work and then realize that success and the positive feelings that you have?
Thank you, Terry. What you can say, the first thing is that one thing we're supposed to understand is acceptance. you first accept yourself so that you can be accepted with people, and then also how you handle things. How you handle things is what is going to portray on how you are going to do your work, and also the best thing one should do, especially as persons with disability. You are not supposed to depend mostly on other people to do things for you. You have to show them that I'm able to do it with or without any assistance from somebody else. And then also, it also determines the type of disability that one has. Maybe I can say mine, or maybe the other person has another type of disability which is different that may need assistance. So if, for example, if you have these devices, like if I can say person who is visually impaired is working in an office, he'll require he'll require something to use so that he can be able to handle his work well. If you can have all these, you'll be in a good time, in a good position to do your work well. Also, how you socialize with the community at large, it also helps you to carry things well. I can say mine, the type of disability that I have, I got it through a road accident. So, and also through that, I say to myself, I cannot just sit and wait for things to be done for me, and yet I have my hands and I have my legs. As long as I can be able to move from one corner to another, I can be able to do anything that any person can be able to do. Through that, you are able to be responsible, and also you can be in a position to guide the other person who says that I cannot do that. Then also everything starts from the mind. If you say you cannot do it, you won't be able to do it. But if you can say, I can be able to do this, you can be able to do that. And then also anytime when you're given a particular job, don't say, I can't do it without trying. Always try before you say, before you keep off, you say you are not able to do it. And also you're supposed to compare the challenges and also the positive part of it and the negative part of it.
Jacinta, you're an inspiration. That's fantastic. So it has to start with you first, and that you have to know, you have to try, and you have to do it. It puts us right into another question that we've gotten on the Twitter chat, and I'm going to pass this one to Njideka because it has to do with the soft skills. The skills of knowing that you are empowered and that there are people and organizations there to support you, but ultimately you have to know yourself you can do that. The question that came from the Twitter chat is, what are those skills, those soft skills that are value add?
So that's an exciting question and a very, very important point, Tracy, because especially in developing countries, there's a lot of focus on the hard skills, whether it's the technology or what have you. But even equally important, if not more important, are these soft skills that you mentioned, what we refer to very commonly as life skills. And these examples of these skills include leadership. Leadership traits also include communication, teamwork, conflict management and dealing with crisis, and very importantly, empathy. And the combination of these soft skills as well as hard skills really, really positions young people into the future, really positions them in the best way possible in the future. In our programs at Youth for Technology Foundation, we have found that a lot of the young people that we work with are just looking for the right opportunity to really unlock the potential. A lot of times they are very brilliant, they have ideas, they want to be encouraged. And so presenting them with a platform that allows them to unlock their talent is one thing that we found a lot of success with. Through our programs, we infuse these soft skills while we're teaching the hard skills. So when you look at science, technology, engineering, and math, for instance, rather than sit, a 13-year-old girl down and teach her programming directly, what we do is we ask her what are the concrete realities in her community and how can we use technology to those realities. How can we use appropriate technology to research, document, and disseminate critical information about the realities that exist in her community? Take, for instance, if it's a health issue in her community, take breast cancer, for instance. Maybe her family, a mom or family member has been affected by this disease. Bringing that young girl in and teaching her how to use technology to be an advocate for that disease. And in so doing, really encouraging an interest and a passion around science and technology is what we fundamentally believe has the most potential. So, I just listening into Frederick and Jacinta talk about how, the work that they do, how there's something to be said for a young person's understanding and belief that they can do. That is very, very powerful. And giving young people opportunities to be able to demonstrate their humble yet realistic pride of their accomplishments is so powerful, not just in the developing world continent, but or not just in the developing world context, but indeed all around the world.
Fred, I think you had something to add.
Yeah, empathy is so key to the progress of a person with disability, and we try to instill into young people we work with, or even though they have a disability, so they will expect people to feel to be empathetic to them, but it is also their responsibility to see what issues does my neighbor have and how can I help. And in that, it means that they are participants within society, and that creates it nurtures a good relationship mix within the society, and people begin to see that this person with disability is just a person. It's only the fact that we are differently able, and we are able to do particular things, and we feel the same way as our brothers and sisters. And also, how do we communicate our issues? Because everybody will be expecting us to be helped. But are we able to make decisions about our own life that we are able to do this particular thing and communicate that effectively, that this is what I want, that I want, what I need from you is a startup capital to begin to implement my business idea that will enable me have my income, as opposed to you giving me a handout. So when they know that people take you seriously when you can effectively communicate, then that we see that as a very important soft skill for these young people to have. And also the aspect of critical thinking, that in this particular society, people might not know exactly how I feel or how I can do things, but I need to communicate to them. I need to show that these are my capabilities, and I need to be able to present these capabilities for them to trust me and allow me an opportunity that is supportive, that I can implement what I want to do and eventually get an income.
I love it, man. Yeah, go ahead, Njideka.
I mean, we've heard over the years, Africa is rising, right? And this is not just a cliche point. I mean, when you look at the continent over the last couple of years, I mean, it's gone through a period of just unprecedented growth. When you take South Africa aside, through 2012, I mean, the growth in Africa was somewhere around 6%. So what adds to that growth is this concept of competitiveness, right? Which is it's productivity with which resources, human and capital, are deployed. And young people have an incredible role to play in how competitive Africa is. Not becomes, but it actually is, right? And being able to transform the continent from a continent of aid to Africa to made in Africa. And this takes, giving them the right skill set and the enabling environment, like I talked about earlier, and the marriage of those two, to really, really take the continent to being competitive, which is where it needs to be. So on the continent itself, Africa is generating jobs, yes, but not enough, particularly for young people. While like 73 million new jobs were created somewhere between 2008 and 2012, just 22% of those jobs went to young people between the ages of 16 to 24. So there is still potential to be able to work with young people and help them think through the ideas, provide them with the skills, starting from very basic, education skills, which include numeracy as well as literacy, and then providing them with the right opportunities to monetize the ideas. And while I've mentioned a lot about the ICT sector, I mean, in Nigeria, for instance, that sector is growing phenomenally. It's the largest in Africa. It's about 18 billion in investments just in ICT alone. But there are other industries that young people are going into and can go into and can evangelize just a huge amount of impact throughout the continent.
I love it. Fantastic. So we're running to the end of our time. And it's hard for me to do is stop the passion of the conversation because as our audience can't see, we have a chat and Fred and all three of them actually, Jacinta and Njideka, are sending notes saying, "Oh, I want to add this comment." So they are very excited about the conversation. So I do want to end because I want to be respectful to our audience's time. But we will be continuing the Twitter chat after this the live stream ends. And as we said, there will be a video of this up at the end of today or later today, so you can share it with your colleagues. And I'm sure that Njideka and Fred and Jacinta would be happy to continue conversations as well, which you can reach them all through our changemaker.com/future-forward site. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you.